This is the undeniable Ryan Frost. We're here with the 3 Count podcast today.
Do you wanna get live with me? Do you really wanna ride with me? I'm in the club, baby, grind on me.
Welcome, everybody, to another great edition of the 3 Count Podcast presents Now Into the Ring, and I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up that mountain called wrestling. And by now, with this being season 5 and our 370-something episode, I would just hope you say it with me. I am your Sherpa, because like your tribal chief, acknowledge me.
I acknowledge, I understand. I didn't know that was this was such a big thing. That's awesome. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, but like every good Sherpa, you got to have someone who's been there, done that, and can do it more efficiently than you can. That's why it's never about me. It's about who's entering the ring. So who's entering the ring today? You can find this man at TOS. You can find him at PvP, CPW, Tetsu, Lit, PAPW, and RWA. He is infamous. He is sexy. He is the undeniable, the Iceman, Ryan Frost.
Okay, cool. So you did homework too. Shit. All right.
Yeah, that's where we're at, right? Like, that's what we're supposed to do.
Thank you very much.
No doubt, no doubt. Hey, so we ended up meeting at the Wrestling Open. We had a little fun conversation, but then like the more that we started conversating, the more that we started realizing like we have a lot of friends in our circles that know each other. So big shout outs to Kelsey and Joey G. Big shout outs to those guys in the Rising Star podcast. I love that podcast because it's definitely a lot of fun to listen to, and I definitely wanted to put them over as well because they're just great people, and I love like getting chatted up with them whenever I see them.
Absolutely. I mean, without those guys, there have definitely been moments where if the Frost Force wasn't coming up from Jersey or New York or anywhere, they all get together and come out. Like, I don't even know if I'd want to do it. They're just they are invaluably supportive. Definitely put them over every chance I get.
Yeah, diehard fans and diehard friends. That's what's even better about them too. Because I know like Joey G and I, we met randomly like on another podcast, and we were just doing like a live stream. And then like I was at Invictus for an outdoor show, and I was just there helping like to set up. And I brought Chaz with me, and I kept seeing Joe G signs, and I was like, "Is that Joey G?" Like I just didn't know. And then he popped up, and I was like, hey, yo, what's up? And he was like, holy shit. So from there, we just ended up having like a fun conversation, and just like our friendship just kind of took off from there. So I was like, yeah, anytime I get a chance to see the dude and give him big shout outs, man, I always love to give him love.
He came all the way on a Wednesday, all the way out to Windsor, Connecticut for Test of Strength yesterday in like 85-degree weather with the sun baking on that black canvas, and just, it was when it got nighttime and it was cooler, it was a lot nicer to be around. But early in the day, it was a rough one yesterday. And those guys came out just like they always do.
It was weird too, because like I saw that pop up on my calendar, and I was like working, doing like all my stuff for work, and I was like, yo, it's not really on a Wednesday, is it? And then I saw the pictures and stuff. I was like, yep. I definitely missed this by accident.
Fight Life was yesterday too. That's why TOS didn't have Ichiban, because he had already committed to Fight Life. So that's like Wednesdays at breweries, I guess, is a thing.
Yeah, who would have guessed? Who would have guessed Wednesday? And this is kind of like an odd week too. So if you guys get a chance to figure out what week we're talking about, but Monday, like I know Beyond had a show. Tuesday was just kind of like open. Wednesday was obviously y'all, and like you said, Wrestle Life, and then tonight, is Beyond. Like they always have, the Wrestling Open. Then of course, then you hit the circuit. Yeah, then every Thursday forever, right. And then of course you have your Friday, Saturday, Sunday loops that go on. But it was like I didn't expect to see so much indie wrestling going on this week, and I was like, wow, this is like WrestleMania only without WrestleMania.
All right. Well, the weather's getting nice, so everybody can start thinking about outdoor shows again, and you don't have to worry about canceling because of a snowstorm or something. So.
Yeah, but you take that monsoon, and then what do? You just wrestle in the rain, I guess.
I did last Saturday. I wrestled in the rain in Jersey, so but
nice.
It is what it is. It happens.
It was funny because like I was at a show too in Jersey last week, and the canvas was like, it was an indoor show, but the canvas was like soaking wet, and I couldn't like piece everything together. All I know though is that the moment I hit the mat and I just felt like all like
Squish.
water right down my side, I was like, "What is going on?"
Terrible.
You know,
What promotion was that?
Atlantic All Star Wrestling.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah, over in Woodbury, New Jersey.
Oh, okay. How
Yes.
far a drive was that for you?
Well, originally it was supposed to be a 4.5 hour drive, but because of a car accident in Connecticut and a car accident in New York, it turned to a 5.5 hour drive. So
I believe you.
yeah, it was a 5.5 hour drive down and like 4 hours and 45 minutes coming back. So it was
Ugh.
a fun drive in one night. I think that's one thing a lot of people don't realize is that like a lot of people make these drives like going to places that they don't normally work or they do work or and they're not usually around from the area, so they travel like far distances just to want to wrestle. Like you really have to love pro wrestling to do this.
Yeah, it's not like you're getting compensated. Yeah, some places will pay pretty well, but by and large, you're not making what you're spending on travel, let alone. I mean, some people do. Some people that get flown everywhere, and that's great too. But I'm not there yet. I guess you're not either. It sounds like, but I'm not. Yeah.
Absolutely not. I couldn't imagine me being like, "Hey man, could you pay for a plane ticket for me to fly out?" And they're just like, "No, we'll just bring on 3 other kids here who have just as much experience as you do, and we'll just go from there." I'm like, "Cool,
All right.
thanks." It happens too. It's funny though because I've asked people. I'm just like, "Yo, like, can I get money to pay for these tolls like when you're driving down,
Mhm.
or like or gas money?" And then you're just told, "No, we can't do that." I'm like, what? All right, then I'm not asking for an extra payday. I'm just asking for like to
Yeah,
get the stuff covered so I can drive down and drive back. But all right, cool. I guess fuck me, I guess.
yeah.
But again, it's something that I've been told numerous times. Like, don't ever take it personally. It's just business. I'm like, it's a shitty thing to say, but I do understand.
Yeah, man. I mean, half of these people, I don't even know. They're not getting sponsors. They're not getting like, where's the money coming from to even put the show on? Let alone pay the boys. Let alone you know, pay for the U-Haul to move the ring and all that, or if they're renting the ring, like I don't know where they're getting their money sometimes because a lot of these promotions don't really it doesn't seem like they're getting sponsors and doing all the things that like would make sense to do. I don't know. But if they got the money, they got the money. Good for them.
Yeah, no, yeah, big shout outs to them for being able to pull it together. And it's not like I'm trying to shit on promoters and be like,
Oh,
well,
of
you
course
guys
not.
don't do this for us, stuff like that. We totally understand. Like it is a thing. It's a shitty thing, and we understand that, but it's a thing. And we, some people just want like just to work, but then again, you want to also be compensated for like the travel time that you're putting in too. And then, it just goes from there.
If I was in it to get rich, I wouldn't still be in it.
Right. That's 100% what I think about too now. I'm just like I just want to hang out, hang and bang for a little while, and then get out the game and just enjoy life. Just that enjoying wrestling as a fan.
That's it.
Yep. But so more importantly, let me ask this question: who is Ryan Frost?
Like literally, um, shoot, I don't know. I grew up watching wrestling, and I always wanted to do it, and I never knew like you could just go to a school and train. So I got out of high school and I thought I had to go to college. So I went and I went to school for acting. And I wrestled in high school, and then my college didn't have a wrestling program or club, so I didn't get to keep wrestling. I went to school for acting and got that degree. Then moved to New York City on pretense that I was going to pursue acting. It's just you can't you can't go there with nothing and survive to pursue any kind of like artistic interest because you need to have money. You got to work too much to pay the bills to um to survive. That like I don't know. It's like a catch-22, super bad. And when I came back home, there was a seminar. It was a Stevie Richards seminar that I saw Ron Zombie post about, and I said, "Do you think I can go to that?" not knowing back then that yeah, anybody, somebody could be in a wheelchair. Wrestler is going to take your $30 and let you in on the seminar for sure. So I thought because I had no experience and I didn't know what I was doing that I wouldn't be allowed. But he was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, you can come." And I was like, "Oh wow, this is a place where you can learn how to wrestle." So that was a PWA in New Haven at the time, and eventually ended up in Cheshire, Connecticut. Um, so I got started there, and I was one of those start-stop guys who like never really took it very seriously. Um, and then PWA closed. It's not their fault that I wasn't taking it seriously, but they referred us to Test of Strength in Hartford, and I said, if I'm not getting any younger. If I'm going to drive all the way to Hartford to train, then I gotta give this a good shot. And Slick Wagner Brown and Bobby Ocean as the owner and coach, got us all, me and a handful of other people from PWA got us all coached up real quick, and we were doing the thing.
Yeah, it's Slick is one of those dude that I've had him on the show a couple times now,
Okay.
and just had great conversations with him.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He's such a wealth of knowledge to just like hit up and talk to, and then like get some information back about like what you're doing, what you need to work on.
Mhm.
And I know like he's told me too a couple times that I need to come up and just like hang out and just kind of like run the ropes and kind of just see what I'm missing and what I could do to kind of like continue to grow my character. So it's definitely tough, but it's also like like you say, like it's all in Connecticut. I live like on like right next to Boston, so it's like I gotta like to make the travel. But
I mean, you're
it's gonna
close
be
to the Bell Time Club then.
yeah. So definitely Bell Time, and then obviously Bio
Right.
Pro Wrestling, just like around the corner. So both those places are about like 45 minutes away from me. And then someone recently just asked me about recommended Showcase Pro Wrestling
Okay.
as well. So I've like had different schools. I've kind of gone to different places. I know Brian Bayside. I know he's the trainer, one of the assistant trainers at Bell Time. Like he's worked with me a couple times, and then worked a couple classes over at Bio, and I've done a couple classes at Chaotic. So I've or doing the pro. So I've kind of like been around, just kind of like get in the ring, get a couple bumps in, learn some things, and then just kind of try to keep it pushing. But it's definitely a lot of fun to like listen to everybody else's like, hey, this is what you should do, or this is what we're gonna do, and we're gonna focus on this technique and that technique. I'm like, bro, everybody is like, it's so cool to learn wrestling from like so many different people, and it's like I just have to try to get more consistent with it.
Yeah, but that's the best way to learn, is because everybody's got different things that they focus on and different things that are important to them, but it's all important. So, it's good to get all those different perspectives. And at the same time, there's the things that you're going to hear at every single seminar, at every single class you take, from every different instructor you listen to. They're all going to say the same shit sometimes about like, it's about the stories, not the spots, or it's get your basics down, because without the basics, nothing else you do is going to matter. Like there are some things that are universal,
Yeah.
but everybody does have the things that they think are important. So it's good to go to a bunch of different places. If you can ever justify driving all the way out to Connecticut, like if there's something else, if there's a reason you would be there on a Tuesday or Thursday, I mean, you got to come to a class sometime, because it's like Wagner saying too, it's the mantra at Test of Strength is learn, unlearn, relearn. His whole goal is to be able to help people of all different experience levels. If you've been wrestling for 10 years, you could still learn something at Test of Strength, or you can, at the very least, you're, working on your ring cardio because you're there and you're hitting the ropes, doing the drills, and working a practice match. It's definitely worth stopping in though, because you never know who's going to be there either. Like sometimes you'll show up and there's Wrecking Ball, just happens to be in training today, or here's, Tomas is everywhere now. BMT,
Yeah.
everywhere now, and not saying like he wasn't. I mean, I know he took some time off, raised his family and everything, but he's back like on the grind, and he'll be there. Reggie from WWE like pops in whenever they were in Connecticut while he was on contract. He'd pop into the dojo and talk to us about, what it's like out there and stuff. So you never know. You really never know who would show up on a given day. And if nobody shows up, then you get a little more time.
And that's never a bad thing. It's never bad. I like I like getting in and just like watching other people, and I could pick up things. Like I know one of the things like we're at bio, like they were running a bunch of drills, and I would just like sit back and watch like 5 or 6 people kind of go through the drills to kind of see what everybody's looking for,
Mhm.
and then I can emulate it. And I'm one of those guys too. And I've talked about this because there's a bunch of different type of learners, but I'm
Mhm.
one of those guys that you legitimately can like. Not that I'm trying to put myself over, but
Oh,
it's I can you can talk to me about it, you can do it, you can show me, and then I can replicate it, and we can
right.
just keep it going from there. And I pride myself on that, but yeah, I definitely want to get back into just kind of cruising around and just like stopping in and just hanging out and just like learning things from other people and learning what's the word I'm looking for though? Not so much styles, but philosophies
Exactly. Yeah.
in pro
100%.
wrestling.
Definitely.
But yo, so tell me, okay, so you're a fan of wrestling, you went into acting, right? It really didn't pan out. You went into the seminar. What was the moment that you were like, this is it, I'm gonna do this?
Um, I don't want to say there was like one moment because it's like I always wanted to do it. I really just wanted to. The thing that kept me going at training, even though I wasn't, working matches yet and everything, was just the idea that like on my deathbed, am I going to say like I didn't try hard enough, so it never happened, or am I going to say like I did it? You know. And then once I started doing it, and really at this point, I can't imagine not doing it. Like it's not to limit who I am as a person, but it's kind of everything now. You know what I mean? Have um I have a delightful girlfriend who I'm very in love with, and we live together, and we have cats, and you know, um, that's obviously the real life stuff. Um, and it doesn't take a back seat. It's all as important as everything else. I can't imagine the real life without that outlet as well. Without that being there. Like when I have a couple weeks off in a row of wrestling, I'm like, I don't even know what to do.
Yeah.
Like, what's a weekend? You know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
not driving out of state this weekend. I don't know what's happening. Um, and it's funny because like I'm not on like a lot of the bigger promotions that's like everyone's goal to get to. But like the promotions I'm in are ones that I believe in and that I want to help grow. And help them get bigger any way that I can. If that's by putting over their guy to make him look better or bigger, like that's what I want to do. If it's about like trying to convince my fan base that already goes out pretty much every weekend to go to one more place, that's what I'll do. I'll try to see if I can get some support going somewhere. It's just I don't know if I answered your question. But yeah, there was no moment where I said like, "Oh, okay, this is what I'm gonna do." Like I've always been like just wanting to do it, and now that I am doing, I can't imagine not doing it. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
'cause it sounds well, you and I kind of have similar stories, right? Like I grew up as well, like pro wrestling was like always in my life, and it was something that I always enjoyed watching. And I remember like just even being in Iraq in 2007, 2008, and like watching pro wrestling out there
Mhm.
on Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays when I was watching ECW on Sci-Fi.
Yeah.
And I remember just remember it being around. I was like, man, that is something that I want to do
Mhm.
one day. And I kept saying it, kept saying it, kept saying it. I got out the military, and then I was like, I ended up getting like really bad out of shape.
Mhm.
And then one day my daughter, she was like, "You're getting kind of squishy, daddy." And like, my God, like if that wasn't the biggest wake up call, that I was like, oh no, I've become that guy. They need to stop. And like my wife laughed at the comment too, and I was like, bro, this isn't good. So I started working out and getting back into shape, and then I randomly met this dude who was wearing a John Cena t-shirt, and he was a backyarder with the dark arts. I'm sorry, don't want to use that term. He was in the dark arts. And so he recruited me, because I ended up seeing like a couple more times, and then eventually like I went and saw a show, worked with those guys for a little bit, and then I started getting trained professionally, and then I made the full jump in like January of 2020, and I was like, yo, I felt exactly how you said it. Like I love my life, right? I'm happy. I have a beautiful wife. I have a gorgeous daughter. We have an amazing puppy, right? Well, I don't say puppy. She's 5 years old, but she's my puppy.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's like wrestling is just this fun outlet that like lets me get to express a creative side of me that like I don't get to do anywhere else.
Mhm.
Like you could be a great content creator, but it's just something about like everything that happens in pro wrestling is just on another level of like, oh my god, I'm actually you're living your dream because let's be real, like you're a paid athlete. You work yourself, you work out, you train, you are doing film study, you're doing all the things that you're supposed to be doing to get better, and like you're an athlete. And there's a lot of people out there who talk about I want to be a pro in something, right? Whether that's a pro football player, pro soccer player, basketball player, whatever, right? But for me, it was always pro wrestling. Like I wanted to be a wrestler. I was a wrestler in high school. I went to college for it, and I ended up dropping out of college, and I wasn't happy. Then all of a sudden, here I am in pro wrestling, and I'm just like, if I was at a 1 to 10, I'd be at an 11. Every time I'm out the curtain, I'm at like a 14. So I
Right,
mean,
right,
it's just you're living life, and I was like, this is so much fun, and I'm so glad that I get to be in something involved in something like this because it's not like anywhere else.
right, right. And like when I was getting out of high school, if MMA had been a thing, you know what I mean? Like I definitely probably would have done that because at least that, where the Gracie School is, where all this, it's like that would have made sense too because I was a very good wrestler and I happened to be big. It's not, I didn't work hard on that part. Um, it would I would have really enjoyed that. But at this point, I didn't debut. My Ryan Frost didn't debut until I was 36. So, I'm not going to get into mixed martial arts now. If I
Right.
get punched in the face, it's a mistake. I'm not trying to break bones. I know things happen. I've been hurt any number of times, but at this point, doing it as with the intention of entertaining people as opposed to the intention of, you know, ruthlessly hurting somebody is more my style, at this point.
Yeah, I understand. I definitely understand. Like I was stationed in Hawaii, and my one of my close friends, his name's Richard Little Reyes. He used to fight in the Bellator, and
Okay.
then yeah, and then I was trained by another kid named Josh Nelson, who was a level 3 military combatives trainer.
Mm.
So, and he was an NCAA 197, I think that's right. I don't remember. He was a not at heavyweight, but he was like the weight class before when I remember.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, he was a big boy, and he was just like a brick. And he joined the army because he was like, yo, like I'm bored with college, and I've already done everything I need to do there. I graduated, so I'm just gonna join the military. And then he just became a level 3 combatives instructor. And I was like, oh god. So working with him and learning Brazilian jiu-jitsu, I was like, oh man, this is not fun at all. Like, I'm just getting beat up, and
Uh,
I enjoyed it sickly enough, but I was like, oh man, I'm just gonna keep trying. And
well, you got to be sick to love what we do too.
yeah,
We're getting hurt. We're taking our lumps.
I know my mom when I first told her that I was going into professional wrestling, she was like, she's like, oh good, because I remember how you used to mixed martial arts, and I was always afraid of you getting hurt. I was like, yeah, no, you're right, mom. Yeah, yeah, exactly. No, yeah, no one ever gets hurt, but mom, you just want you to know that every time I take a bump, it's equivalent to being in a 35-mile car crash. So we're great.
That's funny.
So hey, been in for a little bit. I kind of know like everybody has one of these stories, so I'm kind of curious about yours. But what's the worst bump you've taken?
Um, hmm, that's a very good question. Considering, like worst, like embarrassing, bad, or like worst, like hurt.
Mm, yes.
Okay. Um, there was one time I was in Rhode Island at one of these warehouse gimmicks, RICW, I think, and Devin Baker uh, wanted me to take an overhead belly to belly off the top rope, and I had never jumped off the top rope at all at this point. And he's like, "No, just do it. You'll be fine." And I had the tail end of what is it after chicken pox? What you can get?
Shingles.
I had shingles. I was at the tail end of shingles, which doesn't affect how you land on the ground, but like it hurt like really bad. Like my whole side just hurt. Period for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, really? And it was in a tag match, and my partner was like, I don't know. If you don't want to do it, don't do it, but you could do it. And I'm like, okay. So so like I'm up there and he grabs me and he's like, all right. And I'm like, think of something else. He's like, no, we're going. And I'm like, think of something else. And I did it, but it was ugly. Um it didn't hurt at all, but it was hideous. And I was a little embarrassed that I should have just said no. I should have said, like, let's do something else that looks impressive that I'm more comfortable with, and I learned at that point, I learned that, you got to stay within what you know and what you're comfortable with. Something similarly happened to me recently, and I'm not going to say where or with who because I don't want anyone to look it up. But somebody wanted to do a superplex, and I could do a flip bump off the top rope. I could do that. That's no big deal. But he's got me, and I'm trying to get my footing, and he stepped up to the top rope, and he was tall. He's like my height, and I'm like, I am not going all the way up over your head if you're standing on the top rope. We're
Yeah.
not doing that. And he's like, come on. I'm like, no. And I pushed his foot off the rope, and we both tumbled. Um, by everyone's account, it looked normal. It actually looked like the spot, like we were precarious, and then we both fell off because it was like a 6-man match. So like
Yeah.
everybody's got to do their shit. And so thankfully it looked fine and looked like it was supposed to look, but no, I was not. I In that moment I was not jumping that high and taking that bump, and I feel bad. But yeah, that's another one that was like, I should, I should have maybe suggested something else, come up with something else. The worst hurting thing I did, I was in Pennsylvania, and I took the post.
Mm.
At my size, a lot of times I have to take the post. I have to take, there's all kinds of things I have to do to like get knocked down and taken out because a lot of the times I am bigger than most people, so they have to take me out somehow. So I hit the post and really jacked my shoulder up. It was bad for probably 3 months, I want to say. Um, and I didn't take bookings. I didn't back out of any bookings, but I didn't take any new bookings until I knew it was going to be better. And it was rough. It impacted my match, my one and only singles match against Wagner. Actually, it really heavily impacted that, and I was really bummed about that because that's my mentor. Even if he had stabbed me in the back and betrayed me, and it was a grudge match, but it's still the boss, and I really wanted to do well with him, and we did tell a good story, but I was very limited, and that still bothers me. I still want to get that one more one-on-one with him at some point to make up for that. Um, but yeah, otherwise, I don't know. Like bumps are bumps, man. I mean, that's what we're doing. It's live stunt work.
Yeah.
I guess I'm fortunate. I haven't been hurt more than I have been, but people who start when they're like 19, by the time they're 42, their body is destroyed, and they're like, okay, I'm done with this shit. I can't do this anymore.
Yep.
I started at 36. I'm only 6 years in. So that and the fact that I'm a little bigger, I don't have to take as many bumps. Like my bump card is practically clean. I can do this for a while. And the goal really is to do this until I, network enough, make enough connections, find a way, even if it's not necessarily in the ring, to like make a living in this industry. But if it's commentary, if it's some kind of agent work, if it's anything I can do that I'm paying my bills with wrestling, that's the goal. So I am in the ring while I can be, and we'll see where it takes me.
No, I 100% hear you. And even for myself, like I started when I was 35. So
Okay, yeah,
yeah. So I'm in the same boat, but I'm not a bigger guy. Like,
You have to take more
I
bumps, maybe.
yeah, more bumps, more bumps. In fact, like the one that you just described, right? I was doing a practice match with my trainer. Actually, I'm sorry, it wasn't even a practice match. We were doing what's called it was like a 6-man elimination match. And they wanted me to take a Tower of Doom spot followed by a frog splash. And that's how they were going to eliminate me from the match, which I was like, hey, cool, whatever. So we get to the point where we get up top, and my trainer grabs me and he has me hooked. He goes, hey, have you ever done this before? I was like, nope, but we're going.
Yep.
And without hesitation, Miles Millennium was under for the power. I think it was Miles. It might have been somebody else. Was up for the power bomb, and they grabbed Nick. They grabbed Sicken, and I jumped. I just went for it. I didn't even think about it.
See you later.
Yeah, whatever. I was like, if I was gonna land bad, I was gonna land bad. But I was like, he's like, have you ever taken this before? Nope. Boop, just jump. And I just went for it. And
You were what? You were at the top of the superplex?
yeah, I was on the top.
They were getting power bombed, suplex.
Yeah, so Nick was taking me over the top, and I was like, whatever, we're going. First time ever doing it, and I hit the ground, boom, boom. Here comes a frog splash right after, and I was like,
Whether you're
oh,
ready or not.
this is rough. But I was like, hey, thank God. Like, I was like, I just didn't even think about it. I was like, I'm out, we're going. And then
Well, once I got used to it, once I got to the Ric Flair, the
yeah,
flip bump off the top. Once I got used to it, like I could do it in my sleep. It's just the idea of going even higher up, and not really controlling yourself on your way down is what
Yeah.
like kind of gets in my head. It's like I'll get up there and somebody can like bit me and then toss me, and I'll go every time. I love it.
Yeah.
I actually like the bump because I'm in control of it, and the crowd always makes a lot of noise. But yeah, no, when you're up there and they're holding you up there, it's like shit. This is different.
I'm one of those guys too. Like, I hated doing choke slam bumps. Like, I just didn't like taking dojo bumps, and they were the yeah. And I was like, yo, I hate doing these. And in fact, I took like 2 or 3 of them, and then finally I started to like taking them, and I was like, all right, I could do this myself. Like, I told people all the time, I was like, you don't have to do anything, bro. Like, I have a crazy vertical jump for an old man, and you just got to hold on. That's all you got to do. So a lot of people who give me choke slams love doing it. Or even like rock bottoms, right? If they want to hit me with a bookend or something, they love throwing it because they know I'm going to jump for them. But what was crazy is that the first time I did it, like I remember like the air like falling out, like pushing out my lungs. And I was like, I'm never doing this again. And then randomly, like I threw it again, and then I did it again and again. And now like I will show trainees like when I go down to Maryland to go help train, I'll show them like, hey, yo, this is how we jump. And this is how it looks when you come back down. And they're like, I don't want to do that. I was like, bro, you're going to fall in love with it the first time you do it. And you'll be like, that sucked, but that was fun.
Right. It's like a movie or a video game where like you meet a new kind of enemy and it's like, oh, this is so hard. And you have to do so much and use so many resources to beat it. And then by the end, by the end of the next act or the next scene, you're fighting 5 of them at once because like now you know how to fight them,
Although for me, it was Fat Joe on Def Jam Fight for New York. Fucking crack always seemed to beat me. And then finally, when I beat him, I was like, I'm never going back to play the story again, so I don't have to face him.
That's awesome.
There's your one shout out for me, Fat Joe, on this podcast. Yo, all right. So my last question before we jump into my favorite part of the 3 Count podcast. Yo, what's one of the hardest lessons you've had to learn being in the business?
That's tough. Hardest lessons. Sadly, it's that not, no matter how good your intentions are, not everyone else's intentions for you are good. And I'm very lucky to be surrounded at most times by people that I like and trust, test of strength. Everybody says brother, brother, and they say it's a family, and everywhere says we're family about their spot. And I'm not saying any of that is or isn't true, but I have, been in a lot of different groups and the test of strength students and people who've not graduated, but the people who've moved on to have careers and whatnot, is a very truly unique connection and you don't get that everywhere. And there have been probably a few times where I've really like poured myself into something that was not reciprocating, you know. Um, because I really do have the best intentions. Like I said, I'm in a lot of places right now that I really believe in and that I really want to help grow. Um, and sometimes, people are just selfish, and sometimes people will do whatever they want or can do for themselves. And you just sadly you have to keep your eyes open and look out for people who are not going to do right by you. That's a sad lesson, but it's the same in anything. It's the same in music. It's the same in acting. It's the same in um, any other form of entertainment. It's a bummer, but that's the way it is.
Yeah, no doubt. And it is one of those things that like I've kind of come to learn too is that like yo, you kind of have to be wary about where you're stepping. Because the landmines are everywhere, and there's always that one person. And it sounds shitty to say that way. So there's that one person that's looking to like just crush
They
everybody
don't
and
even
just
need a
take all
reason. They don't even need a reason. Some of these people just like want to be shitty people. It
yeah.
sucks, but that's why I try not to associate with too many of those. I do what I can to make sure I'm with my people.
I hear that. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna move into my favorite part of the 3 Count Podcast, and that is the 3 Count Podcast 10 count questions. And Mr. Frost, this is how it works. I'm gonna fire off 10 questions at you rapid fast, and whatever your answer is, that's your answer.
Shit. Okay.
All right, so we're gonna put on the imaginary timer for added pressure.
Uh,
Bing!
uh,
And in the words of my favorite commentator, Mike Goldberg, here we go. SmackDown or Raw?
Raw.
Favorite movie?
The Princess Bride.
Let's go. Apple or Android?
Apple. I'm not proud of it, but that's what I've always had. So
Favorite TV show?
ever
Yes.
Twin Peaks.
Let's go. I like that. Marvel or DC?
Marvel all day, every day.
Favorite cartoon?
Oh, the original Hobbit movie cartoon.
Okay. I like that. Waffles or pancakes?
Definitely pancakes. My great grandparents are from Pennsylvania, and they make pancakes for dinner. So I was raised to have a special treat: pancakes for dinner.
Let's go. I like that. Favorite podcast?
The 3 Count.
It's gotta be.
I don't listen to a lot of them, sadly, but I love Joey and Kelsey with the Rising Star. Don Kincaid had Stirring the Pot. That was a blast. My buddy Joey Etch and I had a podcast called The Rope Break. That was a lot of fun while we did it. The Stone Cold's podcast is always great too.
Yeah. I'm massively a huge fan of Broken Skull Sessions. Like that's great. And then I think he had another one too, like right before he went back to WWE to do the podcast, like where he was just telling stories about like there was one about loofah brush that you guys just got to go find it. It's one of my favorite stories. Nominate one person that you want to see on this podcast.
I think you would have a lot of fun with either Patrick Saint or Red Sawyer from TOS.
I like it. And then last but not least, my favorite question to ask every single person who comes on this podcast: favorite curse word?
Fuck.
It's got to be.
How could it not be?
I don't know.
That's the word.
It's the word. It's the word.
Use it in any situation for any reason in any context.
Any context. Just ask Samuel L. Jackson. He'll tell you all of the contexts. You can use that. I don't know if you remember or not. There was a video on YouTube. It went viral for a long time, but it was the history of the F word. And it played like old kind of like English music on like a record, and then it would describe the history of the F word. And it started with like it's come from the German word frickin' or to strike, and then like listed off everything that you're supposed to like that you can do with it. So it was one of my favorite videos like all time. So I talk to people about it whenever I get a chance. I'm like, yo, go look at this video. It's so awesome. It's the best 3 minutes and like 29 seconds you'll ever experience.
Can I? I'm so sorry if I don't mention Rick Del Santo and the Pro Wrestling Zone podcast. Then I am a huge jerk because he's a lot of fun too. He gets good questions and he tries to promote local guys. So he's always trying to get a little more exposure for all of us in the local indie scene. So
I
sorry,
love it.
I had
Love
to
it.
I had to put him over. If I didn't, I'd feel bad.
No, definitely. And so those are all my questions. So the last thing I need from you is to let our listeners and our viewers know where they can find you.
Oh, thanks. This Saturday in Rhode Island, it's sold out, but he may make a few more standing room only tickets available. It's the debut of a promotion called Cabaret Wrestle, like cabaret, like Cabaret Wrestle. There's going to be a live band. There's going to be burlesque. There's going to be drag queens, and there's going to be pro wrestling. I will at least be singing and wrestling. I do not believe I'll be in drag. But it's Saturday and today's Thursday, so who knows what can happen between now and then. Test of Strength has an event every month. If we're not on the road, then there's one at the dojo called the Training Day. Tetsu Pro in Bristol, and now they're moving to Windsor for their first event outside of Bristol. PvP has been a really cool place to work in Western Mass, East Hampton, and Ludlow. On my Instagram and Facebook, I'm always posting where I'll be. It's at Ryan F Wrestle. And the F stands for fucking. Ryan F Wrestles and Twitter. I don't use Twitter as much, but if you're interested, you can always check one of those out. Where are you wrestling next?
Where am I next? Well, let's see, because the day that we're shooting this, right, is May 23rd. So by the time you guys get to check it out, June 8th, I will actually be in Shady Grove, Pennsylvania, a part of SWA Summit Wrestling.
Okay.
And then I will be kind of just looking for another place to go work after that. I know I legit, as we're doing this, I just got a message from the promoter from Atlantic All-Star Wrestling because it was my debut at AAW this last weekend. So that's why. So now I just got his. So hi, Dino. There's, and then also I'll be and I'll also be back at Supernova Wrestling in Revere. So that'll be July 19th, July 14th. I'll be a part of the Wrestling Independent in Philly. So there's a lot of cool places that I'm gonna be kind of moving around. But we'll see. I'm trying to get my bookings back up because when you move from one area to another, you have to start networking and understanding and learning. And so that's where I'm at now. So it's like, all right.
Well, I'll tell you, and this goes for anybody, any workers watching this. If you see that there's a Test of Strength Training Day event, they're on one Sunday afternoon in a month that we don't have a road show. Click going, and then message Wagner Brown on his personal Facebook. It's a picture of him and his son Lincoln. You'll recognize him. Just message him and say, hey, I'm going to be there and I would like to work, please. Frosty said to reach out. I don't care who you are. You could say that. That people commit and then don't show up. People show up who didn't even know that and get put on. The training day events are really just to get somebody a rep in front of a crowd and a match on tape. So, it's always goes up on YouTube. That's the best way to network because people from everywhere are always there. People from 3, 4, 5 states at a time at every single training day. So, that's not going to get you a big payday, but it's going to get you in front of a lot of new people.
Yeah, and I think those are important too. Like if you're just trying to get footage and stuff like that put together, to have someone do that for you, that's incredible. So you should, I'm taking advantage of it too.
Yeah, somebody who already has a fan base too. Like people are watching it already.
Yeah,
you don't have to do that work.
Yeah, that's great. But like every great part of actually, first things, he told you where you could find him. He told you where you could look up and see what dates he's going to be a part of. I've told you where I'm going to be at, but more importantly, he's also told you where you can also get some rep time in if you just pay attention to the page, right? The Test of Strength page. But like every great part of a wrestling match, we're going to take this home because this is the 3 Count Podcast presents Now Inch Ring, and I'm your host, Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up that mountain called wrestling. And like I said, it's never about me. It's about who's entering the ring. So who's entering the ring? You see him right there, Mr. Frosty himself, Ryan Frost. And you guys know what to do. Tune into the next episode and be there, or you're really just following us on all of our social media platforms. You're subscribed to our YouTube channel. You're following us on Spotify. You're listening to us on Amazon Music. You're even checking us out on Apple Podcasts, leaving us 5-star Frog Splash reviews off of Mount Olympus. There you go, Chaz, for you. You're also going to check us out on that radio with the dumb jingle, that iHeartRadio thing like that. You're telling your mom about us. You're telling your dad about us. You're telling your uncles, your aunties, your cousins, your brothers, your sisters, your best friends, and your enemies, because we love haters too. You're doing that stuff. You're buying all of our merch on Pro Wrestling.
Thank you, haters. Sorry.
Yep. You're buying our merch on ProWrestlingTees.com or foryourwear.com. And you're either doing all that stuff, or you're really just kind of waiting for this episode to end. You're waiting for that outro, and then you're choosing another episode to listen to. Kawaii. What's going on? It is Clifford Red Dog Miller, the man that leads you up that mountain called wrestling. And what we need from you guys is just kind of show some support, right? We want you guys to go to our YouTube channel at the 3 Count Podcast, go on to our Twitch channel, 3 Count Pod, or even our Facebook page, 3 Count Podcast, and just give us a like, follow, subscribe, even give us a comment, right? Do all that cool stuff. Share it with your friends, share it with your family, share it with your enemies, right? Or you can even come talk to us and just chat us up, right? Find us on Twitter at 3Count_pod. Find us on IG and on TikTok at 3 Count Pod. Go ahead and leave us those comments. We want to hear from all of you guys. We're going to keep putting on videos and stuff like that. We want to keep making this content better, so we want your guys' support. Also, if you guys want to, go support us at ProWrestlingTees.com/the 3 Count Podcast, or even find us on foryourwear.com. Give us the support. Show us your guys' love, because we want to give it right back to y'all. So, in the meantime, love y'all.